Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. I'm your host right now, Magic Man, aka Sean Grace, along with the number one Lakers blogger, according to all analytics and data out there, Mr. Tom Wong. Tom, welcome to Lakers Fast Break for the Lakerholics Spotlight.
Glad to be here, Sean. Always good to see you.
Always good to see you, my friend. And
good to see you too, man.
Good to see you.
Hello, Joe Soro, joining us as well. It's been a rainy afternoon in Toronto. What's it like where you gentlemen are right now?
We're cloudy, although we just got done with a 85 to 90 degree hot spell for 3 or 4 days. But we're in the typical global warming climate crises weather. It's just really strange. But normally it's, San Francisco's Bay Area weather where I live is cold in the summer. And then you get to October and you always have a hot October. So it's really weird.
And Joe Soro, who every time I see the weather in Temecula, it's completely different than the county beside him, Palm Springs, which seems to have its own weather in and of itself.
Yeah, the Palm Springs weather is an oven. Open an oven and then go in the oven when it's been on for about maybe 10 minutes, and you'll know that you're at Palm Springs.
Temecula is not that warm.
It can get warm, but Palm Springs is an absolute fire. It's too hot. It's a desert. Here, you got some mountains, you got some hills, you got the Santa Ana winds, but the desert over there is just brutal, especially during the summer.
Well, glad both gentlemen are here today. So we're talking about impressions during training camp, Tom. So I just wanted to throw a couple stats your way. So the Lakers, with D'Lo in the lineup, Tom, have scored 30 points in every quarter he's started. They've averaged almost 35 and a half points. They're shooting well over 40% from three when D'Lo and Austin Reeves are both in the starting lineup. And on the plus side, we've had 6 30-plus quarters. We've only given up 5, which is actually pretty good for us.
We are playing at a fast pace. We are.
We are.
Harold must be thrilled with the pace.
So what do you think about what's going on? What are you seeing with your impressions?
I'm giddy with happiness over the way that things are developing. And it's all of the pieces are really starting to come together for this team. There was a great article by Johan Buha yesterday or this morning about the Lakers solving the 3-point shooting dilemma. And really, and we've seen that in the games and this new 5-out lineup that Ham is doing, the development of all of the players. Oddly, for the first time since I've been a Laker fan, Laker Tom is not complaining about the starting lineup. I don't care what it is. We have so many good options. Darvin Ham I don't care who he puts in that 5th starting spot. And as far as trades go and so forth, everybody can't continue to play as well as we're playing right now, or else we're going to lock up the entire league by the middle of the season. But the signs are really very positive that D'Angelo Russell might be the 3rd best player on the team, not Austin Reeves. I'm just thrilled with the way that they're playing. Everything's coming together. We traded hopefully just a little bit defense for a lot of offense. But as a Laker fan, you can't be any more giddy for a 2-2 preseason record, because when the top 6 or 7 guys have been on the floor, this team has been awesome. And the evolution of the players that we have added in the last year, the job that Pelinka and Ham have done in redoing the roster and the shooting ability, the fit of the players. It's really remarkable. We have so many guys playing so well. And I just hope that we can keep this up. This whole thing about continuity, I think, is really starting to pay off. And the main thing is that I want to see what we've done is we're winning the 3-point battles against some really good 3-point shooting teams, but we're also giving up opportunities to. We shot terribly from the free throw line, or we would have killed them from them. And we haven't been winning the points in the paint. We've been losing them just by a few points. Now, a lot of that, I think, is because of preseason and the last quarter of dumping guys in and all of this stuff. And I think that'll change once we get going. And like Ham said, the offense is definitely ahead of the defense at this point in time. But, man, you got to love being a Laker fan right now. And the team is just doing well. Just, basketball gods just keep us healthy. We'll get number 18.
And thank you very much for that opening, Tom. And as we welcome in Yami Swoop. What's up, Jamie?
How's it going, Sean? How's everybody doing today?
We're
Good to see you, Jamie.
Good to see everybody.
So we're talking about impressions during training camp, Jamie. So,
I've got a great Darvin Ham impression. Hold on. Oh, no, not that kind of impression. I'm sorry. My impression is not me doing impressions. I apologize. I was about to go into my I was gonna do my LeBron and the whole. Sorry, my bad. I totally misread the.
I thought you were gonna go off camera, change, and eat while we were podcasting.
I've got.
I was expecting the Darvin Ham little face poster that he'd hold up in front of it and start talking.
I'm about to go get a fruit salad, so just bear with me. It's almost ready. I just got to get it out of the microwave. My impressions so far during the first two preseason, or this whole preseason to this point, are that this whole idea of building a team, as crazy as it sounds to some people, it works. It's why Denver won last season. They had the best team. They also had one of the best players in all of basketball, which helps. But we have, I think, two of at least top 10 players, potentially, if they play enough games, to have also some of the best players in all of basketball. So I'm excited to see how this, you've got guys sitting out, which I think is in some ways been beneficial for Prince and Wood. Two guys who we're going to need to count on. Vando sitting out to rest that ankle, get his foot right. I think, A, the right move for Vando. B, has had a nice, side effect of giving Prince and Wood a little more space to show what they can do, get a little more run-in with the guys who you would want to see them playing with. Ideally, you don't want to see Prince and Wood, playing garbage time minutes. Ideally, they're contributors to the greater whole. And so it's been nice for them to get that nice extended opportunity without, the coaching staff feeling like, oh, well, we got to put this guy in for 5 minutes just because he hasn't played much and it's preseason. So that's one of the things that I've been really excited to see. And the other thing is, I think Ham's right. The defense is not there yet, but it's preseason. I think Tom's right. I think a lot of this stuff it's hard to gauge when the last pretty much half is de facto garbage time, or what can Max Christie do today? Right. Or can Jalen Hood-Schifino make more than one basket time? That's what the last quarter and a half is in all of these games right now. It's not, we're working on stuff. I mean, I'm sure the coaches would like for them to work on something, but you can tell it's just like a G League game. Guys are running up and down, shooting the ball. There's not a lot of action going on. Poor shot selection, one could say. So it's hard to get a read on how the team finishes games, right? Because these games don't matter. Nobody cares how we finish these games. We're not playing the finishing lineups. So we're seeing a little too much G League action in the fourth quarter and not enough NBA action, but that's preseason. It's not going to change. So maybe in the last game, they'll get a little more serious, but it really won't matter until opening night. Opening night, we'll see the real team. Opening night, the games will matter. Hopefully everybody's stayed healthy this entire time. Vando sounds like he could go if the games mattered a little more. I won't be surprised if he sits out a week into the season, if anything's bothering him really at all. They can't trade him this season, so they need to make sure he's healthy for the stretch. So you might as well get him as right as he can get so that he can play his game the way he can play it. And you might as well see a little bit more of like when the games mattered of what Prince and Wood can do. Frankly, they're either gonna be a part of this or they're not, and I feel like they're gonna kind of establish that niche early on, because we saw what happened with Lonnie Walker when he fell out of the rotation. He fell out of the rotation. There was no, maybe we'll play him in this game, see if he gets back, or this or that or the other thing. He was gone. So, and that just seems to be Ham's modus operandi, that once he finds a combination that works, he's going to kind of lock it in, and he's not going to do much adjusting in the regular season. I'm not talking about the playoffs. Because he did plenty of adjusting in the playoffs, and that's what you want to see out of your coach. You don't want to see him be like, well, this isn't working. Let's try it again. So that, I'm hopeful, I guess, is my impression. My impression is of that of a hopeful fan. I think that, I've seen enough out of LeBron and AD that they look pretty locked in. They look ready to go. Reeves looks like Reeves. Hachimura looks like Hachimura. I've been kind of pleasantly surprised with how effective Vincent and D'Lo's game meshes together. I think that they really could, unfortunately, pave the way for some pretty good 3-guard lineups, where you throw Reeves out there and any two guys, any other two bigger guys, and let it roll. So, but I got to say this, but D'Angelo Russell looks great. He looks focused. He looks stronger. He's taking contact and finishing.
Playing defense. He really is playing good defense.
I mean, he's trying at least. I won't say that he's playing good defense, but he's putting in the effort, and with effort comes improvement. And so it has to start with where he's starting, and I think he'll get better when he plays more with AD, when he isn't playing with Max Christie as much, when he isn't playing with Jamoy Hodge or Fudge or some of these other guys who are just kind of like, wah, right now. And you can see it when they're on the court. They're all like, wah. So I'm liking what I see from all the continuity guys. Nothing in training camp has changed how I feel about our weakness at shooting guard. Christie's been really up and down. If the team has a weakness, it's the backup guard core after Vincent. It drops off considerably after Gabe Vincent. And if the Lakers do make a move of any kind this season, I would expect it to shore up that. I wouldn't expect them to trade for, Miles Turner when they need backup guards. So that's not a knock against Miles Turner or potential trades for Miles Turner. It's just, the Lakers don't need that guy right now. They have a lot of those guys. They got Wood, they got Vando, they got AD, they got LeBron, they got guys who play the 4 or 5 slot aplenty. And you're not moving most of those guys for Wood. Maybe Hachimura, I guess, but his contract doesn't quite come up to that just starts to become if you're adding guards into that trade, it starts to become a sum. You're deepening your problem even more when it comes to the guard position if you trade for a big. So the only move I see us doing, and it's still, there's still time for a team like OKC or the Spurs. They all need to make roster cuts still. There's some at least comparable to Max Christie type guys who could be cut loose and might end up taking up that 15th roster spot on the Lakers. Nobody in training camp has made me think, oh, let's give Colin Castleton that guaranteed contract or DeMoy Hodge. I like his shooting. I just think all of them need a year in the G League. It's really just as simple as that. I don't see, nothing has changed my opinion. If they're really just not ready for prime time yet. They may have to be ready in some games. I'm sure they'll move the 2 ways around here and there, or make that happen and get them a little bit of playing time up with the big squad. But they all, to a man, look overwhelmed at the pace and physicality of the NBA game, and that won't get better with travel, right? That won't improve with back-to-backs in 2 different cities in 2 different time zones. It won't improve with the pressure that'll start to increase as the season goes on, especially if we don't win a lot of games out of the gate. But I think I expect us to start off better than we did last season. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I like what I've seen from the continuity guys. Nobody's wowed me from the youth core, the youth movement, the Laker kids, whatever we want to call them. They've had their moments.
hot and cold.
Yeah, and they've all had their moments, right? They've all had a moment where you're like, oh, I see what the front office seen. And then there's other moments where you're like, yeah, but you're just not ready, bro. Like, and it's a process. You know, these guys are all learning. They're not superstars.
It's not like we're ready to present the blue ribbon to any of these hogs right now. They still have a lot of work to do.
Gotta fatten them hogs up, boy.
Anyway, as we continue on here, I also wanted to get your guys' impressions on whether or not you actually think that Prince should be starting, Tom. Do you think that Prince should start over Vando?
Yeah, I do at this point in time. I think there's a couple of interesting things that sort of happened around this whole starting fifth starter thing. And Ham just came out recently and said it really hasn't been finalized. And this is after saying he's already locked in on the guy. But he has said that he's not going to be switching once he puts somebody in there. He's going to be pretty much like Frank Vogel was, which is we're going to decide upon a lineup, and those are the guys that are going to go out there and play. Now, they may not finish the game, or there may be substitutions depending upon what happens, but he wants people to know their spots. And a lot of it is because of the routines that guys get into as pros before a game. They're all geared very strongly on who's going to start, when they're going to come in the game, and so forth. So he wants to do that. And I think that, if it were me and I was looking to build this team, I would probably start Hachimura, because I think he gives you a second big that can also do all of the other things that you need, which is play small forward so LeBron doesn't have to, and so on. But you can't go wrong when you look at the simple fact that there's not a lot of pressure on Vando, so I don't want to put him in a starting spot. Because if you put him in a starting spot, I think he's really going to have a lot of pressure to rectify those problems that he had last year. And why put that pressure on him when you don't have to? Because he's not seen, I don't think, by the Lakers as the long-term starter. And so I think it makes sense to put Prince in there. Prince is the guy that they spent the second most money of new money on as a free agent, $4.5 million, the biannual exception. And he's shown he can shoot. He's shown he hasn't lost that shot in his last 3 years. He's been a consistent high 30s three-point shooter from the corners. And I've seen him drive to the basket. I've seen him play good defense. And what he does is he really leaves a great versatility on the bench because you got Vando and you got the other two candidates, Vando and Rui, on the bench, able to plug in where they're needed and where they can be most effective. And I think that we'll see a lot of that balance. Also, I've heard that there's even some consideration that Hayes has played well enough that they like the idea. If they really want to go to two bigs, Hayes, I think what's going to kill that is the 5 out. And I think the success with a 5 out, and if you watch the game, 90% of the plays start with a 5 out. We're moving into that. I mean, I heard him say that, we're going to see some 4 out, and some of the other stuff that we've done before. But watching the game, and I watched specifically looking for that, all I saw was 5 out. And man, it is effective because the ball is moving, the players are sharing it. The team there were parts of the game against the Warriors that I swear this was not a preseason game. These guys were playing basketball and the ball was moving, and players on both teams were playing like teams that had continuity. We're playing like Jamie said, like the Nuggets played in the finals against us. They were a team that, they played 5 years together, man. The other guys were like, hey, you 4 guys want to join me on pickup game here? We'll take next court. So there's a big difference between that. And I think the continuity that we had, even though we've got 5 new guys, we have 7 of those 12 players. I was listening to Sirius XM this morning, and they were talking about the over-unders and one of the biggest 4 or 5 over-unders. And one of the guys picked the Lakers, basically. And he said that, the Lakers are going to be 50-plus wins. And And really, they're going to bust over their 44.5 or whatever the over-under was for them. And before the end of that show, even 2 or 3 of the other guys who were talking there who were known Laker haters, one of them even switched himself around and said, I'm going to go for the over on the Lakers. So I think that Prince is the right move to start the game. Why would you want to, unless they do something in the next game? I mean, LeBron's going to play one more game. Which game do you think it is?
The
last game, I think. Or do you play against the Bucks? But Giannis not playing. So I think Jamie's right. The last game is when he's going to play. So yeah, how are you going to start? What are you going to do? That is the last chance to do. You're going to start a guy one game before the playoffs start. It won't be Vando not coming back from the injury. The logical player is Prince, and the only exception that I could see to the thing is if they start AD and Wood tomorrow.
That would be interesting.
Because
and Tom, you bring up a great.
Wood is the guy. If you're going to play 5 out, who's the guy who fits the bill for the 5 out? It's Christian Wood. I know everything says that that's a radical move.
Oh, radical, man.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up a significant point, and I'll bring Joe Soro into the conversation now. Joe, I think a lot of people are kind of missing the forest for the trees as far as the rotation goes. I think we're pretty much all in agreement that in the big scheme of things, it really doesn't matter who starts. It's about who finishes. But I really don't think people understand that in win now mode, which is what we are in, minutes are fungible. So if you're not producing, your minutes will be allocated to somebody else, regardless of whether or not you're the teacher's pet. So you really do see a situation where if you're not playing well, he's just going to sit your ass down.
There are options this year. So, yes, I do see those who don't make shots sitting down. And that's ultimately what's going to have to happen here is you're going to have to make shots, and you're going to have to make shots continuously. If you don't, you are going to be replaced. There's just no other way to be about it. This is a league that's getting heavier and heavier in the shot-making department. We lost against Denver because of shot making versus no shot making. There's a little bit of fatigue that played into that, but that's part of not being able to make those shots. And this season, there's youth, there's depth, there's players that have a lot to prove. There's players that have been rewarded for their play. There's a lot of enthusiasm. There's chemistry. You have 2 superstars on the team, which is usually plenty if you have good surrounding players around them. It's evenly balanced. You have good-sized small forwards. You have good-sized guards. Some are tall. Some are just right. Some play defense. Some play really good offense. Some can play a little bit of each. There's really every kind of skill set on this team that would warrant 2 superstars at the capacity of LeBron James and Anthony Davis to winning basketball. And in the first 4 preseason games, I have seen phenomenal basketball in terms of player movement, spreading the spread of the offense, the shot making, the chemistry just looks like they've been playing for a long time. And we're in for a treat should the Lakers stay healthy.
I think so. At the same time, I think kind of the whole theory behind the impressions was made with, and Jamie brought him up, Max Christie. As far as minutes and fungibility, Jamie, Max Christie wasn't promised a role on this team at all.
No.
He was promised an opportunity, but not a role.
Correct.
And he's going to have to work.
And he's not the backup who's coming off of the bench for Reeves right now. at all, because that is Gabe Vincent.
Yes, Tom. We've kind of talked about that as well, and obviously we want to get the Lakerholics thought on it, because right now it looks as though it's a triumvirate at the guard position. It's just three guys, and that's it. Maybe a sprinkling of Max Christie with spot minutes, as Gerald has noted. But aside from that, with live bullets flying, guys, do you expect those three guys to get the chunk of the minutes, right?
Yes, I think Christie and Reddish are fighting for a role on this team.
Yeah.
Reddish. Yeah, Reddish, it reminds me a lot of Kwame Brown. Like, you look at him and you think, that guy really ought to just be a fantastic basketball player. And then you watch him play and you're like, but he's not. He's just not. And maybe someday he puts it all together and maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I don't see it happening on this team. So to that, I think Christie, frankly, has a leg up on Reddish incredibly, despite him being a second-year guy. I feel like Christie had that first hot game, and everybody was like, "Here he is," and then he hit a rough. He hasn't made shots from the outside after that, but he hasn't adjusted. He hasn't just started taking the ball to the rim. Jumper doesn't work. There's another way to score. You don't need to shoot a 20 to 30-foot shot every time. I understand that you want to see it go in on a personal level. Like, I get it. Like, I've been working on the shot. I put in hundreds of hours on the shot. This shot should work. I'm going to make it work. I am stubborn as well. Take it to the rim. Get to the rim. Get hit. Get to the foul line. See something go through the hoop a couple of, like, build yourself up a little bit. And that's, somebody needs to take him aside. And I'd be surprised if somebody hadn't, and he just isn't doing it because he's young and wants to make his shot. I don't know. I think that he needs to diversify his point of attack a little bit. Second-year guy. I'm not expecting a lot out of Max. This was always, I mean, since the trades all happened and the signings all happened and the extensions all went down, this is what we've been talking about on all of our shows for a while now. The number one weak spot on this team is the backup guard position. It's everybody's at one point or another has been like, and don't forget, we're weak at the backup guard position. So, it's just being confirmed before our eyes, right? That's all that's happening here in preseason is the Achilles heel to this team right now is that we're going to rely a lot on D'Lo, Reeves, and Vincent. And that's the plain truth of it all. And those guys need to show up. They need to show up, or this team is going to have some real issues scoring the basketball, because you won't be able to defend smaller guys much past Hachimura and Vando. Even Rui is going to have some trouble keeping up with some of the smaller, water bug guys out there who are just so adept at moving left and right. Vando's really the only one who can contain like a Morant, and I don't even want to, like, when I say contain, I don't mean like, we're not talking about shutting these guys down. We're just talking about making life difficult for some of the better scorers in the league who are adept at moving laterally and vertically and with quickness, right?
Jamie, we're in a different time and place where man-to-man defense is gone the way of the dinosaur.
It's gone.
Yeah.
No, so we're talking about group containment with a guy like Vando or Reeves, Vincent, D'Lo on down the line and smaller, trying to contain the point of attack from the perimeter, from half court to the perimeter. That's where this team is going to struggle. If any one of Reeves, Vincent, or D'Lo goes down, if Reeves regresses somehow, if D'Lo's preseason is a mirage and he has a rough start to the actual regular season, or same with Vincent, this will all start to look a little less like a unicorn and a little more like a donkey with a cardboard horn taped to its head. And I don't expect that. I'm not trying to throw water on anything, but I'm just saying that, like, if I look at this team objectively, and if you were to ask me what's the number one issue with this team, it's that this team is weak at the guard position, and it's the most important position in the modern NBA. Whether anybody likes to admit it or not, it is the absolute most important position in the modern NBA. Your guard Your guards need to make shots. Your guards need to at least do an admirable job of trying to stay in front of their guy on defense or calling out coverages when a screen's coming. And if they can't do that, and they need to really be able to score inside and out or be elite at one or the other. And if you're not that guy, you'll probably have a career in the NBA, but you won't make a name for yourself. So I'm curious to see how that plays out when the games matter a little more. And that could be a reason that Hodge actually plays more than any other guy. He's the only one of all our young guys who I think can handle it defensively and offensively. I like Hood Schifino's defense okay, but he's a sinkhole on offense. You're giving up offense. You're making your offense slow and predictable. You can't play Hood Schifino unless he's like in a Ben Simmons-esque role, I guess, where he has the ball and he's got nothing but scores around him. But I don't see that as I don't see that as being a valid strategy at this point in his career. He just has too much to learn. He's got too much there's too steep of a curve for Hood Schifino right now to be an impact player. So I could see Hodges being like, if Christie just isn't making it happen, I could see them giving Demoy Hodges a shot. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to be looking at who hasn't been signed to a team.
No, or it's going to force us to make a trade because
but that won't happen until the 15th of December.
The fact that that's our point of vulnerability in a guard-driven league, as you say, Jamie, brings up the issue of why would the Lakers make a trade, and that's the reason for making the trade.
I would agree
because our backcourt is going to have to face teams with two superstars. Oh, yeah. Bradley and Booker. I mean, it's Kyrie and Dame, Kyrie and Luka. You've got combinations that we're going to go up against where you start off by looking at 20 to 25 points per game deficit at the backcourt, and how are you going to handle that? So there's a couple of things there. Everybody keeps pumping Reddish in here as an option at shooting guard. He's never played any minutes at shooting guard, period.
He's not.
Secondly,
he's not playing.
It's not. I've seen them talking about putting Prince at shooting guard. Prince plays primarily for the last 3 years power forward. He's not even a small forward from pure definition standpoint.
No, Tom, but as we were talking to Chris Hine, who's from the Minneapolis Star Tribune, Tom, and I asked him point blank, do you think Prince is a 3 or a 4? Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah, he's played minutes at the 4, but I think he's a 3.
It's interesting that they did not keep Prince and that he only got a $4.5 million offer. You know, I mean, he's like the forgotten guy going into the Lakers camp, and what comes out as a plus to me is if the forgotten guy going into the camp when you're counting on these other 12 guys to be contributors or other 11 guys to be contributors, if he comes through and he's playing like he's playing, that is a bonus for the team because you can slot him into the starting lineup without hurting anything that you were thinking was reasons why you wanted to keep Rui on the bench or Vando on the bench or Wood on the bench. They're all just now, it leaves you with an options where you can put some combinations out there if you're not playing hockey and you really just move LeBron and AD around and give them a lot of rest. You can put some combinations out there that will give the other teams real problems because we're so diverse. We have such a mix of, we have such versatility in how we can attack and the combinations we can put together.
This is a question for everybody on the panel and also our audience in the chat. Who are our 3 best shooters? Most efficient to least efficient. We're talking about the top 3, but still. You probably put D'Lo and Prince in there.
D'Lo, Prince, and Reeves.
Yeah, I was thinking Reeves as well. How about yourself, Joe?
Yeah, I was going to say Prince so far, Reeves and D'Angelo for sure.
And I agree. That's 3 out of 3. And if you're agreeing, that also happens to be if you wanted to take a starting lineup with 2 superstars who needed to have spacing, and you were going to pick 3 guys to put around them, which 3 guys would you pick?
Yeah, those would be the 3 guys. we saw the slight minutes they had together. They played 7 minutes, but they were a plus 11 on the floor.
Yeah.
The defense really didn't tail off all that much. Prince looked actually some wings he's going to be fine with, like the Kings.
Yeah, at least he's 6'7" instead of
Yes.
6'4", man. I mean,
Oh.
I'm so tired of 6'4" guys guarding
6'8" guys.
So Tom,
man.
that's the idea. I think that's the ideal lineup. What's our best defensive lineup in your eyes? And I'll ask Joe and Jamie that question as well.
Boy, the best.
I mean, I'm just
defensive
assuming
lineup.
that any lineup we're talking about has AD and LeBron in it. So we're really.
But
Just
you got
talking
if it's a defensive lineup, you got to start by putting Vando in there somehow.
Right.
Yeah. So Vando replaces Prince, and then I probably would say that if you're looking at D'Lo versus, I'd probably go with Gabe over D'Lo for defensive purposes.
I would go with, I would do it a little bit differently. Finish up, Tom. I would do Vando. I would do Vando, Hachimura, and Vincent.
Okay. How about yourself, Joe?
You take Reeves out, huh?
I would. Reeves showed in FIBA that he is.
We do have one small issue, at least this preseason, and that's rebounding.
Yeah.
So the issue with running
another reason for Christian Wood to be in a starting lineup.
Christian Wood was
best rebounder on the team.
Was not boxing out the way he probably should have either. That might be
that's a correctable. That's a correctable.
That might be a force of habit that he needs to fix, and the coaching staff needs to do that. You know what they want to do is they don't want to manage. They don't want to coach like, let's say, a Dave Roberts or a Mike Tomlin. You want to coach. You want to actually coach. If you want to learn how to manage and coach, you go to Texas. You go to Houston, where Dusty Baker manages and coaches and actually has fundamentals taught. Instead of maybe feelings. So Christian Wood playing against Denver because you need size. You're going to need to maybe put him in the block and teach him how to box out. I know that sounds weird for a veteran NBA player, but a lot of times, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the first season Phil Jackson was coaching the Lakers with Shaq in his prime and Kobe and all these great players, right? Well, he had them doing fundamentals. He had them doing shadow layups with no ball and acting like there's a ball there while they're guarding someone. So it's not fundamentals or fundamentals, guys. It's just like you never stop training the basics. Otherwise, you start to lose it. It's got to be instinct. So the Lakers need to tighten up a little bit in the fundamentals down in the block, but they have solved a major issue based off the preseason, which is making shots, which is the most important part of the game. And you just have to adjust. Darvin Ham's going to have to adjust to the lineups. And we're going to probably find out in the first two games how well he can do it, because you have two totally different type of teams that you're going to be playing against that are very good in the Denver Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns.
Absolutely. No question about it. Moving on, I wanted to ask Tom and Jamie another question that's kind of been out there. Recently, the NBA did their annual GM survey, and they found that a couple interesting notes with the Lakers. One is that somehow Giannis Antetokounmpo is the most versatile defender in the NBA, and they didn't even have Anthony Davis on the list. Interesting. Also, gentlemen, do you know who the steal of the draft was, according to most NBA GMs?
Whitmore?
It was Cam Whitmore, Tom. That's correct.
Yep.
Got 20% of the vote. should be noted that although some people just don't want to hear it, they're going to be linked for a long time, and their careers will be paralleled beside one another by some Laker fans, and that's just the way this fanaticism works.
They should have taken him instead of JHS, but
They did.
That's spilled milk, so let's not worry about it.
Absolutely. Another point made in the GM survey was that the Lakers are nowhere near any of the darlings. Not a darling coach, not a darling superstar, they didn't even we weren't even considered to have the best offseason in the NBA.
Right.
Who was this? Who did this survey?
The GMs.
It's the GM survey.
Is this the same? Is this the same a-holes who had Kobe ranked 4th in the top 100 on ESPN?
No,
that's
some of them probably were.
That's ESPN.
Some of them probably were.
40th. Kobe, 40th. Imagine that. Seriously, you go into that room and you sweep that room out. Whoever those people that voted, you sweep them. You sweep them out of the goddamn building. 40th. And how do you sit there and have a straight face and not say that this offseason, by paper, I understand if they blow it during the regular season, but on paper, how the hell was this not one of the top 3 off seasons? How? What are you watching? TikTok? Are you watching TikTok?
It's judgment.
Are you doing constant hirings?
Judgment is always a bell curve.
Every five
there are always idiots at both ends of the bell curve.
Every 5 days, they're doing new hires every time. Remember when we used to see a set rule? It was a set stage. People did NBA, NFL matchup. People did NBA Today. Every time I go to these shows now, when I run into it, when I'm changing the channel, there's 400 different people on the show now. So what do they do? Are they paying per diem now because they're so cheap and they're getting it up to you know what? Because they don't know how to pay anybody. They're trying to sell their business to Apple and all that stuff. Is that what's going on? This is who's in charge now of these things. People who have no idea what the hell they're watching, what the hell they're doing. Why? Because no one wants to pay them money. They don't want to pay money for the true professionals. They don't want to do that. So now people like us, we got to go on these shows on a podcast and call them out to the point where we build enough of a crowd, and then they got to hire the Pat McAfee. Because Pat McAfee's the first hire that ESPN has done that actually has talent.
No, that one, that's fine.
That can get talent on his channel. That can get talent that trusts him. Come on, I mean, we're not doing anything. We're just telling you what we're hearing. How do you even have a straight face and not say that the Lakers had one of the best off seasons? How?
Doesn't matter. Don't listen to them. It don't matter. It's just bulletin board material. We'll take every bulletin board material we can get.
I don't listen to it.
What you don't realize, because you're on the West Coast. I remember living on the East Coast for a year. Now, I admit it was in the pre-internet era, okay? But I lived in New York for a year. And I can't even get the scores of Laker games because the newspapers come out before the games are over, and the next day they don't even tell you about the previous day. So you're totally ignored when they say ESPN is an East Coast-oriented newscasters, and most of those ESPN people are all in the surveys that are choosing for GMs and so forth. All of these results are predictable. You want to get clicks, you go anti-Lakers.
Yeah.
That's simple. Because you get all of the people who hate the Lakers, and you get all of those idiots who love the Lakers who are going to read it just because they're mad at you.
You're not.
Well,
they're not getting my attention. I'm here. The
Well,
beautiful
you
thing
just ranted about 30 minutes about them.
the beautiful thing. That's because I heard about it. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, he didn't watch it. He heard.
I didn't
about
watch
it.
it. No,
Yeah.
I don't watch. The only time I'm on ESPN is when I'm.
It was no. That was the NBA GM survey. Joe was talking about the trash ESPN player rating. That
9 and
was
10
straight,
for LeBron and AD.
Yeah, that was straight up garbage.
That's great, because I would probably have them down there at 4 and 5.
Well, as long as we segue into that, Tom, who are your top 10 players in the NBA
Oh,
right
top
now?
10. Boy, I haven't thought of that, but I'll
Okay,
give it a
Jamie,
go.
do you have a top 10?
Well,
right now?
I'll give it a go, Sean. I'll make it quick.
All right.
Number one, Luka. Number two, Giannis.
Oh.
Number three, LeBron. Number four, AD. Number five, the Boston guy.
Tatum. Oh my God, Tom.
Number six, Booker.
Oh my God.
He
Number
just forgot
seven,
about. You just forgot about Jokic's. Yeah.
SGA. Number 8. Who am I missing?
You're missing
Yeah, you're
Jokic.
missing someone big.
Oh, I missed Jokic. Okay, that's why I stick Jokic up. That's why I really was 4 and 5 for LeBron and AD.
Yeah,
so Jokic up there. So now I'm
should
not.
be 2 or 3 or 1 even, but sure.
Well, I put him 1. I put him Jokic 1, then Luka, then.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Then throw Embiid in there at. I think I
9.
got 9. Embiid at 9, and I'll take the defensive player of the year last year as 10.
Oh, okay. Triple J.
Right.
Oh, okay. Jamie, your top 10 the NBA right now? Just eat the damn orange.
One pill makes you smaller. All right. That'd be Jokic, Giannis, Luka, AD, LeBron.
Right on.
Booker, I guess. Embiid. I mean, the problem is that like so many guys who I think are better than some guys just haven't really played in like 2 years. Like Leonard, I would put Leonard higher, except for that I don't think he's going to play more than 30 games. The guys. I'm serious. The guy's more.
Well,
His
How can
nickname should be
you
Peanut
pick
Bread.
Paul George and Leonard because you can't count on them?
That's why I won't put
Like picking Kyrie, you know.
That's why I won't put Kyrie up there either, or Harden, because he's just
Really, what's really scary is Kyrie is.
I'll put.
There's a chance the Lakers can be tricked into trading for Kyrie or Zach or.
They can't.
You
They don't have the. They don't have the pwn. They don't want Kyrie. I'll add. Let's see who I'm thinking of. It's like 6 or so. We'll go with. Oh, no, I just had some. Oh, Dame. Dame is.
I don't have him in the top 10.
He's gonna show everybody why he should be this season. Tatum. There's a really good guard that I'm forgetting, and I can't remember. Trae Young. No, Shea has a little bit more to prove.
all right. But you got
Trae
Trae
Young's a possibility the Lakers trade for too.
I like Trae Young a lot.
I
know he's got holes in his game, but the guy's
no defense.
He's
who
an offensive maestro.
Who rounds out your top 10 now, Jamie? There's one more slot.
Oh, it's easy for me. Oh man, but now I'm.
You're blanking.
Jimmy Butler.
Okay, all right.
I love Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's just. I love Jimmy.
There's
Did
playoff.
he really change his hairstyle? Did he really change?
He did.
Yes, he did.
Just for media day.
Now there is.
No, that was just for media day.
Just for me. He did the same thing last season. He had like dreads last season, and it was beautiful. And he did the emo.
I would say. You know what? That's an interesting list, Jamie. The only reason I would keep Jimmy out of a top 10 list is because he's a playoff dynamo. He's already said, like the 82 game is just. Is that
not what we play for?
Yeah. Joe, who's in your top 10? Eat the damn orange. Make a list.
Are we doing this in order, or are we just
just
top 9?
Yeah,
1 through 10.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Let's see here.
Well, we did it in order.
I'll do it in order. I'm going to say Jokic number 1, Giannis number 2, Embiid number 3, Luka number 4, LeBron number 5, Anthony Davis number 6, Damian Lillard 7, Steph Curry 8, Booker 9, and then Jason Tatum 10.
Oh, I forgot Steph too.
I got to get rid of JJJ for me. I'll take Steph in there somewhere.
Okay, yeah. So mine is Joker, Giannis, Embiid, Steph, Tatum, Doncic, KD, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander,
KD too.
Zion Williamson, and number 10 would be LeBron, Ramon James. So
I wouldn't even put Zion in the top 20. He hasn't played enough. And the only reason why KD is not in the top 10
Really,
is
there's
because
more chance that Kyrie will play than Zion.
Joe, that's all true. Regardless, he's a top 10 talent in the NBA.
Did you see guys see Wembanyama play?
Yes.
His 2 games, yes.
Yes. That dunk over a former Laker Bryant. Oh.
Well, Joe, Tom, me and Joe were talking about how the hell are you going to defend him on down screens? The guy's 7'4".
Did you see that alley-oop is the question. He looked like he was sliding. It was a slide. He looked like he looked like Mr. Free, what's his name from The Incredibles? Samuel Jackson. Freeze guy.
Well, that layup that he made or dunk that he made when he got a pass that was like he caught the pass above the 3-point line and just took one step. One giant step. I mean, that was like, wait a minute. And it's like men against boys.
So
it is.
We have a little time left. So before we head on out, just going around the panel here, Tom, what are you looking for in these last 2 preseason games?
I'm looking for Christian Wood to start the next game. Everything I see says that ultimately what could be the best lineup for the Lakers if they're going to play 5 out is having Christian Wood there, because he's probably the best shooting big that they've got. They can't put anybody else in who's going to outshoot him. You know, the big question mark too, to me, which is going to be interesting to see once the regular season starts and LeBron plays his normal minutes, is with all of the 3-point shooting that we have now, as a coach, you really want LeBron to get the ball by cutting and doing things off of the ball rather than taking threes. Yet threes are how you can expand your game, expand your scoring, and everybody, everybody rates still how many points per game you score is how you rank. So it'll be interesting seeing how LeBron. I'd love to see him step back.
Tom, you just raised an excellent point that hasn't really been talked about enough. Is that he's going to be forced just by evolution and nature to change his shot selection.
Right.
To change.
You think?
Jamie, LeBron's not of the age right now where he can step out onto the perimeter and go one-on-one dribble driving and step back 3 like Luka does. He can't do that anymore. He's got to change. He's got to change the way he chooses to make threes. A lot of catch and shoots rather than dribble back.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that rather than.
I'm just gonna say something.
Well, we know what's gonna happen. There are gonna be switches. You know what he's gonna do. He's gonna dial back.
He ain't gonna stop shooting threes.
He's gonna step back a couple steps and just you can see it in his eyes. He's ready to go. If it's somebody he thinks he could get it over, that's gonna happen. But Tom,
wait a minute.
No. Hold on, Tom. It wasn't. I didn't necessarily lack for him shooting threes. It was when there was less than about 20 seconds on the shot clock. That could be eliminated with off the ball stuff.
No, better shot selection for threes for LeBron is definitely a priority for the team. But the thing that's interesting about the new 5-out scheme, that's really basically a hub where you've got a guy at the top of the key and you flanking him by shooters in the corners and on wings. So that means that it's really hard for any of those shooters to try to help out because you're spreading them out. And so you put AD at the top so he can either take a wide open 3 or he can attack And when he attacks, he either goes for the rim for the basket or he hits one of the open. Whoever tries to help out gets a pass out there. The thing that we haven't yet seen, we saw how effective that was last time AD played because that's how he got free all of the time. Christian Wood can play that same spot at the top of the key, and he's going to be dynamite. And frankly, so can LeBron James, because now we're talking about a 5-on offense where you really are taking your star player who can attack the basket and score on all 3 levels, and you're surrounding him with 4 jump shooters. So LeBron doesn't even have to be in that formula for the thing to work. And it's been working when LeBron hasn't been in the game. So that ability to change the whole way that we're attacking the basketball and also how soon you get the ball to him. He's trailing, so you just hand him the ball. You don't have to figure out how you get him out to the wing of the post and guys trying to front him and guys trying to double him. All of a sudden, it's so much easier simply because we got shooting. That's the big difference maker. If the shooting disappears and there really is a Lakers curse and these guys can't shoot high 30s and 40s, man, I don't know what we do. But if they do, all of a sudden, everything works so much better because now that's the simplest way to clear the lane. Put a star at the top of the key, and you put D'Lo at the top of the key with 4 shooters around him, or put anybody at the top of the key with 4 shooters around, all spread out behind the line, behind the 3-point line. And that's the team. Those are the teams that we have trouble stopping. It's the Warriors who play 5 out and have a guy who can reposition better than anybody who's ever played the game of basketball in the whole history of the sport. In Steph Curry, it's just remarkable how, that the most dangerous moment is when he passes the ball to somebody else, because then you got to figure out how you stop him. How do you keep him from getting where he's going to get his shot?
It's like in hockey, Tom. The best hockey player right now is Connor McDavid, and you can't keep the puck off his stick. It's the same thing with Steph. You can't keep the ball out of his hands.
Yeah.
You just hope that he misses most of the time. Jamie, what are your expectations or your impressions or anything you're looking forward to or looking more into during these next 2 preseason games?
Well, I would like, but I probably won't get to see more of the regular rotation playing. Guys, if they can play, should play. I'd like to see, if Reddish is still dealing with an ankle injury, which I think he twisted his ankle in the 4th quarter of the 2nd game, which is probably why he hasn't played much. I'd like to see him at least try to make this equation look a little different than it's looked so far. I understand the desire to see Wood start on the offensive end. I think that lineup has a lot of problems on defense, especially if you have AD, Wood, and LeBron as your front court. I think that lineup's gonna get scored on pretty easily.
It's a trade, offense for defense trade. No doubt.
Yeah, I don't see Ham making that trade. I understand the desire to see, all of the most efficient shooters on the court at the same time. I get it, but
you're going to see a lot of Christian Wood playing with AD.
I think that we'll see more Wood playing with Vando or Hayes because that allows them to move Wood out of the paint.
Well, I think you'll see. I think that's a good combination that you'll see when AD sits.
Yeah, I expect Wood to
but
be.
They've already said very strongly that you're going to see a lot of Christian Wood playing next to Anthony Davis.
I hope to see it. But that'll probably be when LeBron sits and you bring in Rui, so that you can swap that defensive intensity, because LeBron is not going to play with defensive intensity.
Right. And LeBron, frankly, right now is the weak link.
I'll tell you 3 things that LeBron isn't going to do. 3 things. He's not going to play with defensive intensity. He's not going to change his shot profile, and I can tell you why. Go back and watch Kobe Bryant's last game as a Laker and how much he changed his game as age and injury sapped whatever you want to talk. He changed Jack. Yeah. He played the game the way he's played the game his entire life. These guys don't change the way they play the game. It's not going to happen. Stop talking about it.
Well, the
Don't
game
say it ever again. Anyway,
how they can play it.
it doesn't change. No, that does. It's not gonna.
That's
Okay. I'm not going to get into it. It's a moot point. You're wrong. He's not going to change the way. He's going to take 4 seconds into the shot clock, 3-pointers from 42 feet out. He's going to take 10
He'll
of them.
quit before the game changes him. Let's say that much.
That's exactly what I'm saying. He will. These guys don't change. That's like asking
but there is one thing that
bulldozer to fly to New York. A bulldozer ain't going to fly nowhere.
You know,
the other thing he's not going to.
Do you really think LeBron is going to go all out this year? Or do you think that he's going to take an opportunity to say, you know what, with as good a team as I got now, and I've handed the mantle over to AD, and I got 2 kids coming up, maybe I can play 3 or 4 more years by just cruising.
No. I don't.
You think he's still going to go out and make it hard for AD to become the alpha player because he's still here?
I disagree with that. I don't think
10 threes a game, and
I don't think he's made it hard for AD to be the alpha player. I think AD's made it hard.
He's made it hard for him to be the alpha player simply because he's playing really well.
I think that you have a 2-part question there. One is, do I think LeBron is going to go all out? I think that my definition of all out and LeBron's definition of all out are probably 2 very different things. I think LeBron's probably going to go all out for 15 minutes a game.
Right.
Maybe 20 if the game is on the line and we want to win it. I think the rest of the time you're going to see LeBron missing his cutter when he gets backdoored. You're going to see LeBron, pointing to a guy, blowing past him to somebody who's across the court, being like, and things like that for a lot of his minutes. And I think he's going to take at least 2 40-foot, 4 seconds into the shot clock, 3-point shots per game. It's just how he plays. It's not about this whole narrative, this whole idea of this narrative that these players are like, here, take the sword of next. You shall be the champion after I.
You're dealing with unique personality. You're dealing with superstars. It's not like
it does not exist. There's no mantle. There's no torch. None of this exists. It's just media fodder to create story where there's no need to create a story. We have 2 great players who play really well together. Mm-hmm. AD makes it hard for AD to succeed.
It's time for LeBron. To be honest, it's time for LeBron to start to dial it back.
It's not going to happen.
Actually come out and say that.
Tom, let me rephrase this. Tom, when did you start dialing it back?
All right. Well, I'll
just say no.
I'll have to step in here for
I walk now. I hike now. I don't run.
All I'm saying.
I watch basketball. I don't play it anymore.
All I'm saying, Tom, is that dialing back is not an organic thought process. Nobody thinks, now is the time for me to dial it back. Life forces you to dial it back. Life forces you to dial it back, not
smartest player who wants to win.
No.
And who is a team first player.
As you're currently watching the Lakers Fast Break show, ladies and gentlemen, we've been bombarded with Waldorf as Statler from the Muppets.
Well, Joe hasn't said much this show.
No, Joe is busy. The flesh is willing with Joe.
I can get this goddamn box out of my face. Maybe I say something.
Sean's just like hidden Joe behind the box the whole show. I don't know. I don't know what Joe did to Sean.
That's a software. That's a software issue. It's not Sean's fault.
I know. Well, I guess we could. Well, I don't know. Anyway.
No, you can blame
me. I like
me.
the 4 panels side by side.
You can blame me. Everyone else does.
I just want to say I like the 4 panels.
Where did Joe go? I can't see him anymore. He's
there. I see him. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Listen, all I'm saying is this: is that the greats play great because
that spells it.
That's just how they're just wired. They are wired a certain way, and so the same way somebody who's constantly lazy and shows up late to work and gets told like, hey man, you're really, it's just how they are. Like there's some people are the way they are. And just because there's a situation where everybody outside of their reality can so easily backseat drive and say, well, this is the time you really ought to consider dialing it back and taking a back seat to AD and we'll all have a Merry Christmas, one and all. It doesn't work like that. Nothing works like that, man. It doesn't work like that. And I'll bet $5 right here now that we will see 2 40-foot, 4-second shot pot.
There is a point. There's a point. Here's the real question is, are we at the point where a coach has to perhaps suggest to LeBron that one part of load management and career management is to consider how best to save yourself for the playoffs, to save yourself for the stretch run. And it's really difficult, for example, to say play fewer minutes, because fewer minutes means fewer points. And guys, I'm a 28 point per game scorer. I don't want to become a 24 point per game scorer.
Pat Riley talked about that after the first championship. He called it the disease of more.
Right.
I want more minutes. I want more touches. I want more points. I want more rebounds. And he said that kind of attitude just
and more money.
But there's a point where somebody like LeBron, and maybe it's next year, maybe it's not this year, but I have a vision of a point that LeBron is so good that he can sit there, and so it's almost like, okay, start these 5 guys. Let me figure out what's going on. If we need rebounding, I'll come in and rebound. If we need defense, I'll come in and play defense. If we need points, I'll come in. If I need assists, I'll come in and throw out. He could be the ultimate jack of all trades, because some guys have done that. Some guys have gone from superstar. Now, granted, it hasn't been Michael, Kobe, or LeBron, the 3 biggest names. But if there's a chance that one of them could do this,
Jordan Crawford did
one of them could do it.
That would be
really LeBron James.
Tom, that's really right. That's really a unique situation, Tom. And in saying that, he'd be the only one. He'd be the only one in that whole category, because there have been players who have gone from NBA.
He's not a me first player. He really isn't a me first player.
Bob McAdoo and Vince Carter are probably the 2 best examples of guys that went from being a superstar to being a role player. Now, LeBron's, if we're going to win a championship, LeBron has to produce obviously more than a role player. But if we do win a championship and he's not the number 1 and it's AD, that's a unique situation in and of itself.
I think we're going to see games where LeBron maybe scores 10, 12 points. And 3 or 4 guys score 20 points.
Hey, look, one of the positives about last night was that he almost had as many assists as shot attempts.
Right.
That's huge. That's
huge. A lot is going to depend on if all. Listen, when you look at the first preseason games and you want to look at the entirety of the offseason and where we're headed, we had 3 real wild cards, right? We had Christian Wood, we had Cam Reddish, and we had Jackson Hayes. 3 guys on minimum contracts, low risk, high reward players. Well, right now it looks like we're 2 out of 2, and the 3rd guy is injured. That's awfully good results. We were worried about is playoff Rui, or are we going to get regular season Rui? So far, it's looking like playoff Rui or some version of him. We were worried about Prince. Now we're talking about him starting. Nobody was talking about him being one of the starters. And the guy is playing great. We're worried about 3-point shooting. Well, all of a sudden, it looks like our 3-point shooting is going to be a strength, not a weakness. We're worried about size. All of our big men, all 3 centers are playing well right now. Yeah, I think I agree that we've got weakness in the guard position. It's maybe the biggest reason why in a guard-driven league we might be forced to make a trade. If we still perceive ourselves as being a second-tier team below Milwaukee and Denver and Milwaukee, Denver, and who's the 3rd team? Boston. Those 3 teams, if we aren't up to that level that we think we can keep with them, then it's very likely that we might make a trade, either D'Lo for a player, or maybe we keep D'Lo and maybe it's some other combination,
Tom, if D'Lo keeps shooting like this, there's no way we can move off of him.
I've always loved D'Lo, and I'm really encouraged and proud of how he's handled the situation, admitting that he got played off of the court because of his defense, And he's really addressed it. And he played excellent defense, I thought, in the last game. There was several critical plays. And a lot of it is just effort, making an effort on, like Jamie said, you make an effort on that side of the ball, good things happen, the enthusiasm gets contagious, and you get a tip and the ball is loose, and it opens up so many things that are positive for the team. And he's got size and good hands, and I'd love to see him succeed. I'd love to see us, everybody accuses me of all the time of, you don't like this team, you want to trade everybody. That's not the case. I want to win. I want a team that's good enough to win. And right now, I don't think that we're good enough to win. I think that there's a chance because of the nature of the youth. We have a team that's filled with young veterans, and that's the perfect mix, because those are the guys who by the end of the year could be a little bit better or a lot better. And while we may be the fourth team in the pecking order right now, we could be up there near the first team by the end of the year if some of these guys really develop and go along. I mean, this entire staff is very player development oriented, and all of the guys we're talking about are guys that are still in their 20s. It really means that they're just entering their prime at worst and a couple of years away from it at best. So there's so many things to be positive about. Darwin Ham is changing the strategy. We're playing 5 out now. We're playing modern basketball for a change. How many years? I mean, I can go back to when the different coaches that we've had and just sort of the refusal to play modern basketball, this old school mentality that has plagued the Lakers front office for years is finally gone. And Pelinka and Ham working together as a tandem have really made a difference in a vision of the kind of basketball team that we're going to have going forward.
Frank Vogel, Luke Walton, Byron Scott.
Byron Scott used to drive me crazy with hating 3-point shots and so forth.
I think he actually wiped his ass with all the analytic spreadsheets that they gave him personally.
Geez,
You should have been coaching the Dodgers at that point then.
Hey.
Well, there is a point. Listen, analytics has become a big issue with the Yankees. The Yankees have really made some terrible decisions. Decisions pushed by the analytics departments.
Look, there's a
and it's interesting because baseball analytics was really the first sport to really get into this whole translating stats into money and salaries, and figuring out how you can get more more productivity throughout your organization by following certain measures.
Tom, Bill James didn't wear a sweater or a suit. He was a night guardman at a beans factory. That's who changed baseball.
Yep.
Anyway,
there's some really great baseball movies,
we are off.
Moneyball.
No, we're not. We're getting back on. We're getting back on there, Waldorf.
All right.
Anyway, yeah, no, they're great. Before we head on, I can't get that raspy voice. Anyway, before we head on now, guys, let us know what you're working on Lakerholics. Tom, what do you got cooking right now?
I've been really intrigued with the 3-point shooting and the 5-out offense and so forth, and looking at how that's going to moving forward. I think that it's, what is it? 24th is the first game, and 24th. This is the 14th, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 10 days away from the season opener. Lakers have got a tough first 10 games. It'll be real interesting to see how well we do in the first 10 games.
Do you have a prediction on that first 10, Tom?
I think we're going to be 7-3 or 8-2.
Jamie?
7-3.
Joe?
7-3.
Okay.
Sean?
6-4.
Whoa.
That's
He's the moderator. He's got to take Jamie. He's got to take Gerald's position here.
I love reality. Bring it.
10-0. 10-0.
That'd be great.
We're gonna sweep the season.
Anyway, ladies
It's
and
only
gentlemen,
one game.
Been
Oh,
been a great almost hour and 15 minutes here with the guys from Lakerholics. I want to thank Tom,
Lakerholics?
Jamie,
Tom, is it all right if I
Andrew.
ask to put that on your tombstone? Like, it's only
What?
one game.
Well,
Jamie, that's a
actually,
little
it's
more-
pretty appropriate for a tombstone when you think about it.
That's right.
There is
Jamie-
only one game, man.
Jamie decided we were going to go off the rails, and he decided to do it by himself by becoming very morbid at the end of Lakers fast break. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I've completely lost all control. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Adios.